Good morning and welcome to World News, coming to you live from Warsaw. I'm Saria Strzemska. And I begin with the results of Sunday's parliamentary elections in Romania. Nearly all of the votes have been counted by now. Despite a surge by ultra-nationalists, it seems that the country's government will continue its pro-EU and pro-NATO strategy. Romania's ruling leftist Social Democratic Party is on course to win the elections with 22.7% of the vote, holding an almost 5% advantage over the far-right Alliance for the Unity of Romanians. The centre-right National Liberal Party stands at about 14.4%, while the reformist Save Romania Party is at 12%. SOS Romania, the Democratic Alliance of Hungarians and the Party of Young People also managed to pass the required 5% electoral threshold. And we continue on the topic of Romania. After early poll numbers were released, the Prime Minister thanked the voters for confirming that his Social Democratic Party remains the leading political force in the country.
La alegerile parlamentare.
This demonstrates Romanians' interest in the future of our country and their concern that their vote will influence the future direction of governance. I also want to express my gratitude once again to those who voted for us in these elections. We have to continue to push our country forward with European funds, but at the same time to protect our identity, our national values, and our faith.
I realize that we're facing a moment when we're no longer talking just about candidates and parties, but about democracy in Romania, about remaining in the European Union and NATO. This is what it's about.
People rallied in Tbilisi for a fourth straight night on Sunday to protest against the government's decision to pause its European Union accession talks until the end of 2028. The move follows a resolution that denounced the recent parliamentary elections in Georgia as being neither free nor fair. Don Arlev reports.
It's been a tumultuous year for the people of Georgia. Here, as you can see behind me, mass protests taking place in front of the parliament building here in Tbilisi. This comes on the heels of the Georgian Dream government refusing to actually do what is enshrined in the Constitution, that is to further the European Union ambitions of the people of Georgia. This is what the people of Georgia have to say. There are literally thousands of people here protesting here in the center of the city. Again, we have a situation where the president of Georgia, the democratically elected president of Georgia, says she believes that the government is illegitimate and therefore she is not going to leave her post come mid-December when the Georgian Dream wants to change the law and actually make the democratically elected president chosen by parliament. She says she is not stepping down. She calls this government illegitimate. We've seen the European Union has somewhat severed ties with the Georgian Dream. They're calling on the government to allow these people to peacefully protest. As you can see, largely there are peaceful protests, but there are a few people taking some of their frustrations out here on the Parliament building as they believe that they are being pushed towards Russia. Earlier this year, we saw the passage of the Foreign Agents Bill, which has been a huge crackdown on free speech and expression and has caused many problems, as you can see. How long this is going to last is anybody's guess, but the people are sick and tired of the current government led by the Georgian Dream. Don Arlev reporting from Tbilisi, TVP World.
European Council President Antonio Costa, EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas and Enlargement Commissioner Marta arrived in Kyiv on Sunday for an unannounced visit, marking the first day in office with a message of support for Ukraine. Our correspondent Oskar Terji is in the Ukrainian capital and has this report.
The EU Council President Antonio Costa and the EU's new top diplomat Kaja Kallas were in Kyiv on Sunday for a visit to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, showing just how important Ukraine is on the priorities of these new leaders for the European Union. Both leaders paid their respects here behind me at the memorial wall for soldiers who have fallen since the war with Russia began all the way back in 2014, before meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky for talks. Now, among the things discussed and announced by the EU Council President Antonio Costa was the opening of 2 accession clusters for Ukraine in the first half of 2025. That's to do with Ukraine's pursuit to join the EU as a member state. Now, Costa also praised, he said he was impressed by the reforms that Ukraine has put in since they began the process of trying to join the European Union, and he also insisted that the support, the financial, economic, humanitarian, diplomatic, military support to Ukraine would continue under the EU, which will be a relief to Kyiv, who will be worried that the incoming US president will not be as friendly towards supplying Ukraine with the kind of aid that the Biden administration did. So this will be reassuring for Kyiv to see that the EU still considers Ukraine one of its top priorities going forward. Oz Kataji reporting from Kyiv for TVP World.
During her stay, Kaja Kallas underscored the need for Europe to invest in its own security. She went on to say that supporting Ukraine is not charity and that Europe must substantially increase defense spending.
This is the moment where we have to look everything through security, through defense. It also means aiding Ukraine, and it's not charity aiding Ukraine, but it's really investment into our own security as well. So this is very important when we talk about food security, when we talk about cyber security, when we talk about migration also. These are all the things that we also look through the security lens. But most important is, of course, spending also defense industry is important because there is a war going on the European soil in Ukraine, and Putin doesn't show any signs that he has given up his goals.
Now let's turn to the latest flare-up of tensions between Kosovo and Serbia. An explosion hit a canal that sends water to Kosovo's 2 main power plants. Pristina labeled the incident a terrorist act by neighboring Serbia.
Apart from Kosovo, Serbia also wants to find out what exactly happened to the canal. The explosion, which damaged critical infrastructure, occurred near the border between Kosovo and Serbia on Friday. Belgrade's willingness to participate in the investigation comes after Kosovo's foreign minister alleged that Serbia was involved.
The attack was carried out by professionals. This was another criminal and terrorist attack, which we believe comes from gangs directed and orchestrated by Serbia, which has both the interest, the readiness and the ability to cause such attacks and damage. As a serious state, we do not accept such accusations. We also did not say, and I won't say today, that Mr. Kurti directly ordered that attack. Our own investigation will show what really happened. We are open to cooperation with Pristina.
In connection with the attack, the Kosovo police have arrested 8 people.
During a search, we have confiscated an arsenal of weapons, ammunition, explosives, other equipment, including insignias, hundreds of uniforms and other military equipment. These will serve as relevant evidence.
Earlier in November, Kosovo increased security measures around critical infrastructure and services. This came after 2 attacks on a police station and a municipality in the northern part of the country. Tensions between the countries have been ongoing for years. In 2008, Kosovo declared independence from Serbia. Belgrade has not recognized Kosovo as an independent state, even though over 100 countries in the world have.
The Icelandic State Electoral Office released the final results of the country's parliamentary elections. Among elected lawmakers, Paweł Bartoszek received mandate as Poles make up the biggest ethnic minority in Iceland. The opposition Social Democratic Alliance won Iceland's parliamentary elections, winning over 20% of the vote. Second place was taken by centre-right Independence Party with 19.4%. A Pole, Paweł Bartoszek, entered the parliament from the Liberal Revival Party with 15.8% of the vote. These results point to a major shift in power for the parliament in Iceland. Behind-the-scenes negotiations are already underway. On Monday, party leaders are invited by the president for initial talks. According to Bartoszek, it is difficult to speculate on the composition of the future government for now, but his party will be a deciding force for the possible coalition government. In a post on his media platform Truth Social, Donald Trump has announced the nomination of billionaire Massad Boulos to serve as his senior advisor on Arab and Middle Eastern affairs. Boulos is not unfamiliar with Trump's family, as he is the father-in-law of the president-elect's daughter, Tiffany, and was heavily involved in his presidential campaign. Trump called Boulos a deal-maker and an unwavering supporter of peace in the Middle East. In the campaign, he was active in securing the support of the Muslim American population. Born in Lebanon, he moved to Texas at a young age, where he obtained a law degree. After finishing his education, Boulos took over his family's business, a multi-billion-dollar company distributing vehicles throughout West Africa. Boulos is not the only family member Trump nominated for a government position. On Saturday, he tapped real estate executive Charles Kushner to serve as the future U.S. ambassador to France. Charles Kushner is the father of Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law. And we continue on the topic of the United States. Joe Biden pardoned his son Hunter on felony gun and tax charges last night. This marks a U-turn for the American president, as previously Biden stated he will not use extraordinary powers of the presidency to benefit his own family. In a written statement, Joe Biden said the pardon was due to his son's convictions coming from what he called a miscarriage of justice. The president also said that the prosecution was politically motivated, as the charges in the cases came about only because Joe Biden's political opponents decided to use his son's legal woes to derail his re-election prospects. Biden's pardon came just 10 days before Hunter's sentencing on federal gun charges. The son of the sitting U.S. president was also supposed to appear in court on December 16th for sentencing in his tax evasion case. The special envoy of the United Nations for Syria has said that the civil war in Syria, which erupted in 2011, reached a critical moment. Recently, the conflict saw a major escalation as rebels took over much of Aleppo. The flare-up is the most significant since 2020, when Russia and Turkey reached a ceasefire in Idlib.
We are at a very critical situation with the latest offensive from the rebels. We have seen a renewal of the civil war, and of course this is first and foremost has a negative impact on the civilian population. And I have been appealing to all parties that it is necessary now to respect international humanitarian law, so that the civilians are spared for further suffering in the Syrian conflict.
Heavy rain and flash floods claimed 2 lives in Greece as storm Bora continues to wreak havoc across the country. Many Greek islands and areas on the mainland have been heavily affected. Torrential rain hit the popular tourist island of Rhodes on Sunday, forcing authorities to temporarily ban the use of vehicles as Storm Bora battered the nation for a second day. The fire service received more than 650 calls to pump water out of flooded buildings and evacuated 80 people to safer ground. According to Greek officials, damage has also been reported in Thessaloniki, the country's second largest city on the mainland. The rain and storm are expected to impact much of the country in the coming hours. And with this, we conclude our news recap. Please stay tuned for more here on TVP World. World Talks with Diana Skaya coming up next.